We're going to talk a whole lot about Big Ten Media Days next week and the week after that, but we're going to give a little taste of it today because, that's a lot of minds are on that. You've already heard who's going to be there from the various schools, and that gets you thinking about things. We know that Blake Corum and Chris Jenkins and Mike Sainristil are going to represent Michigan at the media days. I've got my own thoughts about that, but I want to hear yours first. Tom Crawford, these three guys, why are they there? And how do you think, what are you interested in hearing from them?
Well, I mean, you're three stellar guys, three, quality kids. I mean, use all the cliches you want. They're all appropriate. And, with Blake, I mean, him coming back, I mean, my God, that's just unbelievable. Rebounding from the injury, and then his coach telling him he needs to leave, and he's still coming back, and the leadership qualities of him. Obviously, Chris Jenkins, we've talked about him quite a bit. I'm a huge Jenkins fan. I just think he got that NFL DNA that I mean, you can tell that's just how he's bred. He's a fun guy. You can tell he's a team guy. And then Mikey Sainristil still. I mean, I keep telling that story about he had the janitor at the football building close the players' lounge because it wasn't being kept up enough, and had it locked down for a week or so, whatever the amount of days it was, and that's a sign of leadership. But you know what? I mean, these three guys, quality. I mean, obviously legitimate, and I can see why they're there. But my God, I go through that roster just like we talked about, JB, with who are the captains going to be. And this doesn't necessarily mean whoever the reps are at Big Ten Media Days is not equated into captains. I mean, these three well could be, and there could be a couple more added to them. I think it's going to be a 5-person coaching or a captaincy this year. But I mean, you could have 8 to 10 to 12 other more representatives that would be literally equally worthy as these three. And that's the makeup of this team. That's why I'm so excited about this team. It's got depth in not only talent, but character kids.
Yeah, there's no question about it. And here's one observation I'll throw at you. Sometimes in these Big Ten meetings, I have had the sense in the past that Michigan coaches would send those least likely to say anything controversial. And that might equate to least likely to say anything terribly interesting.
Yes.
Absolutely not the case with these guys.
No, Chris Jenkins. I mean, come on. I mean,
I talked to 2 of the 3 of them for the football preview, and they are just intriguing guys and fascinating guys and fired up guys who will be very gut honest with you. Blake Corum, I mean, we've all talked to him. We've heard from him. We know what he's like. Not all that long ago, he basically said that the 2023 season is going to be a disappointment if Michigan doesn't win the national championship. Yeah. I mean, that's how far this program has come, and that's how much Blake Corum is willing to put things out there in making that kind of statement. I'm sure people want to follow up with him, but he doesn't back down from anything. He doesn't back down from an opponent, and he doesn't back down from a microphone in terms of, okay, I'm going to tell you how it is. And but the kid is just a young man, is someone we've seen grow so much over the last couple of years. Chris Jenkins has the motor that just will not quit. I mean, the stories about him when he was growing up, make sure you check them out in the Wolverine football preview, because they give you an idea where he's coming from and how he has always been. Guy walks into the room and that team gets fired up because they know how fired up he is. And he is going to be a real leader on this team. And I would expect, you said that doesn't necessarily equate to being captains, but I would be surprised if these three weren't. Mike Sainristil, I've talked about him more than once. Just the maturity and the leadership. Here's what I want to see from Mike Sainristil. We know that Cade Stover from Ohio State is going to be there as well. So I'm wondering if we can get a picture of Mike Sainristil still tipping the microphone away from Cade Stover as he's ready to talk. What do you?
That's what. That's why they have Michigan and Ohio State on separate days, just for that reason that you
Yeah,
said.
but I mean, you could get there early, or you could
Yeah, I
get.
know.
Why
I
not?
know.
There, this everybody remembers the player,
Yeah.
Cade Stover with that sure touchdown in his hands, and Mike Sainristil still tipping that ball away. One of the iconic
Oh,
plays
games.
in recent Michigan Ohio State history, and just was absolutely huge. Helped in the downfall of that was still a game at that time, and then you saw Donovan Edwards apply the coup de grace and put that game away. He and Michigan's offensive line. So, I think that they made very wise choices in who they sent, and it's not going to be a deal where you're not getting any quotes out of these guys. They are confident. They know what they're talking about, and they're willing to really put it out there.
You know,
Go ahead.
I want to bounce or dovetail off what you were talking about. Is Harbaugh going to be concerned about getting guys that won't say, bulletin board material and everything? Because that's what happened. Remember when Taylor Lewan went to McCormick? Remember McCormick Place on Brady's, I don't know, 2013 or whatever it was, 2012, 2013. Taylor Lewan was one of the Michigan representatives. I mean, and that was just that was a powder keg going off right there. I mean, as far as quotes, I mean, that's just there's no filter in Taylor Lewan, but and then it kind of got a little tight, after that. And then when Jim, in the 2021, I call that the turning point media days when all of a sudden bravado from Aiden Hutchinson, I think was a Son Haskins there at that time too. I mean, it was just different. I mean, these guys are confident. They were calling out their rivals as important games. So it changed in 2021, where I don't think that's a concern anymore, John. I think there's a lot of try. I mean, like I say anything stupid or anything, but I think they feel more confident in these kids and that that they're gonna whatever they say, it's gonna be stuff that they can back up, if you know what I mean.
Yeah, there's no doubt about it. And they've pre-backed up a lot because of what they've accomplished the last couple of years.
Right.
It is not bravado. They have proven what they can do. They want to take the next step. They're motivated to do that. And so, I really think that they will handle themselves well. And yet, what you'll get will be very interesting and insightful interviews, in my opinion. So is this the start of things for you? Is this the start of the Big Ten football meetings kind of signal the start of the football season for Tom Crawford?
Well, it is one of those milestone things. I mean, because you are for 2 days. I mean, you're just shrouded with it. I mean, it's all you think about. You're in a vacuum. It's Big Ten football. It's college football on a national scale because you got national media in there that will be there. And there's that part. But actually, for me, it's always started since I was a kid. It started, when I'm up north that first weekend in July. And you go to the grocery store up north and you see Street and Smith back in the day. The college football preview, you go or you see Lindy's or Athlon. And when you see that, I know you're just in the start of summer, traditional summer up north, but man, you're thinking, wow, you're getting excited about college football and you're taking it down to the end of the dock and you're looking at all the previews and everything. And so that's what it is for me. And then it kind of builds up from there. And media days is a big thing. And then when camp opens on August 1st or whatever, then you got content every day and you're a month away. And that Labor Day weekend to me is magical because it's college football starts Thursday night and you got it Friday night, you got it Saturday, you got it Sunday, no less, and and Monday. You got it every day that Labor Day weekend because the NFL kicks off the following weekend, and that's got a holiday feeling to me, man. It's Merry Christmas to me.
Yeah. I have a big three that kind of coalesce to make it the start of the football season. Right before media days, almost unfailingly, the Wolverine football preview comes
Yes.
out, and that sort of leads us right into media days, and it's heavy saturation with football. And right after media days is over, all of a sudden these guys are going to fall camp,
Yeah.
and we're starting to meet with coaches and meet with players that they'll trot out through the course of. It depends on the fall, you know. I think Jim Harbaugh is at the point where he'll let these guys come out in the fall a little bit and talk. That was
Right.
my expectation because of what they've accomplished. Uh, but those three things, I mean, boom, 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 they just fall like that, and it's like, okay, boy, it's here now.
Yeah.
You get a little, you have that little gap yet. You have August where it is, take that deep breath before you're in it every single day. But the fact that fall camp's going on, we're getting reports that are coming out of fall camp and all that. Yeah, I think to me, this is really the time that it all gets rolling.
Yeah,
Back,
John, real quick, it takes me back to remember the 2015 media days. I think it was in Chicago, and that Harbaugh's first media day, right? Okay,
yeah,
so before his first season, and he talked about we're going into the submarine. Remember that? And you were, it's like the players were saying, yeah, yeah. I told my parents, you're not gonna get a text from. I mean, it's just like, I mean, it was like, wow. And we really didn't hear much, those. It's like before that Utah game, I think was the opener on the road, and it's different now. Full access, pretty much, during the week, during camp, sprinkle here and there, and it's just a whole different look, and I like it a lot better now.
yeah. So when we get down to Indianapolis for media days, I know you always have some questions kicking around in your mind, but my first one to you is this: what are the coaches? Who are the coaches that Tom Crawford will be most interested in checking in with? I obviously no Pat Fitzgerald to pick on or to
Yeah.
listen to. So what's Tom Crawford's first move in terms of wanting to hear from a coach?
Well, let's start with Northwestern. I mean, I want to hear what David Braun, the DC interim head coach, has to say. This takes me back to Lloyd Carr in '95. Remember after Gary Moeller lost his job in late spring or early summer, whatever that was in Southfield? I want to hear what he has to say, and I'm curious to know how the media we had 15 minutes in that. I call that a general session. Everybody's, but it's a scrum that I like. When they go into the little booths, that's where you get more. Where the questions are. It's more free flow, and it's I like that better. You learn more. But day one, obviously, uh, keep your friends close, keep your enemies closer. I want to hear what Mel Tucker has to say, right? That's
Yeah,
the way I am. And then Ryan Day, once again, keep your friends close, keep your enemies closer. I want to hear what Ryan Day has to say. And I get such a kick out of the Ohio State media. And oh my God, it's a mob down there. You know what that's like, 5, 6 deep around there. And just that whole I think Ryan Day does a really good job in the media scrum. I mean, he does it as well as up front. But
yeah,
I like to listen to good communicators. Ryan Day is a good communicator. Yeah, I don't I don't like his school. I don't like anything about Ohio State, but I like to hear him talk. And I'm telling you what, and this I'm talking about day one right here. Kirk Ferentz. Why? Because he's eloquent and classy, and he answers your question, and I really enjoy that. Day two, um, the new guys, right? I want to hear the new guys. So that'd be Ryan Walters of Purdue and Matt Rule of Nebraska because they're new. Well, Luke Fickell of Wisconsin. They got three newbies, right? And then Harbaugh. I want to hear Harbaugh. We have to wait. Harbaugh's got the anchor leg. He's running the end of the relay. the last coach to present in terms of the general session, the first session
Right.
on Thursday at 12:15, whatever.
And Jim Harbaugh leads it off, obviously, but in terms of interest from the Michigan contingent,
Yeah, that's obvious. Yeah,
there's no question about that. But you named all of my big three in terms of gets beyond Harbaugh, because obviously Mel Tucker and Ryan Day. What I will be interested in, what Michigan fans will be interested in, they each will have to field a question about the University of Michigan football team. And no doubt about it. With Michigan State, you've got the bad blood, you've got the incident last year, you've got Michigan pretty well blowing the Spartans off the field, and the Spartans wanting to get back after what happened there. Ryan Day, 2 in a row. He's had an easy time in the Big Ten, beyond what has happened in the last 2 Michigan games, but those are the games in terms of what Ohio State fans are looking at. So Mel Tucker will have to answer to some of the things that are going on with his team and his program, especially vis-a-vis Michigan. Ryan Day, then you've got, like I said, you can win all the games in the world, but if you're not winning against Michigan, they start to rumble down there in Columbus. And as you mentioned, Kurt Ferentz, unfailingly helpful, and a guy that
he's just great.
He'll answer your questions. He'll be respectful. He'll listen. He doesn't like get this over with. I respect him in terms of how he deals with the media. We'll inevitably have somebody say, well, yeah, but what about this and this? Okay, I'm talking to you about how he interacts.
Yeah.
We have interacted with coaches who weren't that way, believe me. And the other thing with Kurt Ferentz is the fact that, he's got a couple of pretty darn high profile former Wolverines. Could really play a role for his team. And so, want to check out first impressions there. So I think that those three, and you mentioned them all, are high on my list. How about players from opposing teams that they set the list out this year, and guys that Tom Crawford wouldn't mind hearing from and tapping their brain a little bit?
Well, obviously, preoccupation with the rivals. I mean, I want to hear all 3 Ohio State guys, and all 3 Michigan State guys. But back to one of those Ohio State guy, Marvin Harrison Jr. I swear, I think this guy is the most talented Big Ten player I can remember in a long, long time. I'm telling you what. Until he got hurt in that Georgia game, geez, if he didn't get hurt, Ohio State would have won the national championship. How scary is that? I mean, I just think he's that good, and I like to hear how he handles himself, and with all these accolades. The other, Megan, our producer, will enjoy this as a Nebraska grad. Jeff Sims, a transfer from Georgia Tech, who's now going to be quarterback at Nebraska. When you combine a new quarterback, you got Matt Rule. Matt Rule is a high-profile coach. I mean, Nebraska is going to be an interesting storyline, I think, this year. I'm not saying just because you got you just got a clean slate and everybody's excited all over again, as they often do when there's a coaching change. But I think, I saw him play a little bit for Georgia Tech. He's got some skills. I think that's going to be interesting. Trey Mosley, specifically at Michigan State, because, man, he's the lone wolf out there as wide receiver. Michigan State, man, they don't have a lot of skill guys that wow you, right? I mean, they lost a lot of talent, and they got transfers, and they got some interior linemen both sides, but Trey Mosley is going to have a lot of pressure on him. I'm just curious to know how he's going to handle that. And obviously all 3 Michigan players. I mean, I mean, that's great. I mean, you could just hang out there. But what I do though, just so my strategy on these media scrums when we get into what there's 7 little booths, right? Isn't it 7 little booths, one for each team
Right.
of each day? There's 7 on Wednesday, 7 on Thursday. So we have the big session with the coach, and then lunch, and then we break into these groups. And I don't know what you do, but what I tend to do is go against the grain. I'll go talk to the third tier, less notable player from Penn State or Maryland, or somebody who doesn't have a lot of people around, and just you can learn from guys I'm really not even familiar with. I like those talks. I got them all to myself in some cases, right?
Yeah.
Have you ever done that? I mean, that is
Oh,
very.
it
You
was
got
even
to
better,
fire in.
it was even better in the pre-podium days. When
Oh, with the
it
tables.
big round
Oh
tables.
my God. Oh my. I had Max Bulla, Michigan State, for like 35 minutes all by myself. It was crazy.
Yeah.
I mean, it was like you have your own private interview.
Yeah,
It's not.
absolutely. And that was it's a little bit different now. They've got them behind into mics behind podium.
Yeah.
There's
Oh
usually
yeah.
a camera or two there, but it's I do the same thing. I won't belabor the point on players, but I think you're dead on in terms of hearing from Michigan State players, Ohio State players, Marvin Harrison, and the aforementioned Cade Stover. I definitely want to hear from, because you know they are answering the question that Ohio State players have not had to answer in 2 decades. And that
Right.
question is, you guys could lose a third straight to Michigan come November. Your thoughts about that? How much has that been the focus this winter? All those kind of things. So, yeah, I think that they'll know it's coming, and they will be ready for it. And I just think it'll be fascinating to get an idea of their mindset after, like I said, something that hasn't been happening for many, many years. And so now it's time for them to be in the position that the Michigan players have been all too often.